A mechanic is considered parasitic when it only interacts with cards from a particular set, and not with the rest of the game. In Magic, common examples are horsemanship and splice, although I feel slivers exemplify this concept. Slivers were not a mechanic relegated to a single set, and in fact, more slivers were just printed in Modern Horizons. Slivers are relegated to very narrow deck construction, however. The sliver deck is made up mostly of slivers and supportive staples or other tribal boosters that benefit from the creature monoculture. In Hearthstone, there is a very similar concept in the Mean Streets of Gadgetstan expansion, Jades. The Jade generating cards required a critical mass to be playable, with every Jade card printed being included in some decks. The idea was to get the Jade counter as high as possible, and to continue to generate large threats to overrun the opponent. In Wild, Jade deck variants still crop up and control metas. The problem with Parasitic Mechanics is limitations on design space. With Jade Druid in Standard, no other deck could match the value of Jade Druid, so it ate the design space for control and fatigue decks. But that case is really a facet of overtuning. Most unnerving is the simplification of deck building. With both slivers and Jade cards, the deck building process begins with a package of cards, including either some or all of the members of the mechanic, then filling the remainder of the deck to complement the strategy. The effect on gameplay is a loss of depth of play. There is a great degree of linearity when the parasitic mechanic becomes a deck. There is little depth of play when your strategy is play a Jade, play a Jade, play a Jade, or play a sliver, then next turn another, then a third. Although Modern Horizons doubled down on the problematic design space, I think the Boomsday project pushed the design space into a better direction. Magnetic is not a parasitic keyword. The magnetic keyword is found only on mechs, and at that it is only featured in the Boomsday expansion. But it plays really well with quite a lot of cards. Classic cards like Harvest Golem find new life. Wild cards from Goblins vs. Gnomes get new tools to play with. And in Standard, powerful mech combinations rival Voltron. The design space Magnetic occupies is as a flexible option to either play a buff on a mech or to play a standalone minion. This allows for meaningful decision making and an expansion of the existing strategy. A Goblin Bomb might seem useless, but buffed with a magnetic mech, it's suddenly an immediate and long-range threat, offering board presence as it can now attack, and eventually it will do 2 damage to the opponent with its death rattle. I do want to point out that magnetic is sometimes just the icing on a good card, as Ziliax and Snip Snap even see niche play without supporting mechs. Regardless, I think magnetic is a design decision which empowers players and facilitates both old and new strategies. It is not necessarily parasitic, even though it plays really well off of a particular subset of cards. Now, you might be wondering why I have not mentioned Yu-Gi-Oh! As far as parasitic mechanics go, Yu-Gi-Oh! Is a bit of a different beast, as not only are there parasitic mechanics, but they are the norm. Specifically, archetypes rule Yu-Gi-Oh! Next week, we dive into archetypes.